Good evening. This is All India Radio and I am Valsa Williams with the news at 9. The headlines. Government to raise health services expenditure to 2.5% of GDP by 2025. Government extends Kisan Credit Card facility to fisheries and animal husbandry sector. Situation in Mumbai limping back to normal after experiencing second highest rainfall in last 45 years. In Sri Lanka, former Defence Secretary and Police Chief arrested today for their negligence to prevent Easter Sunday attacks. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, India set a victory target of 315 runs for Bangladesh in Birmingham. Union Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Husbandry has said the government has set a target to raise health services expenditure to 2.5% of the country's GDP by 2025. In reply to a question in the Rajya Sabha, Dr. Husbandry said the public expenditure on health services is continuously increasing. He informed the House that the National Health Policy 2017 envisages increasing the public health expenditure to 2.5% of the GDP. The Lok Sabha today passed the Indian Medical Council Amendment Bill 2019 by a voice vote. The bill aims at bringing in transparency, accountability and quality in the governance of medical education and practice in the country. It will replace the ordinance promulgated in this regard. The bill has provision for setting up of the National Medical Commission NMC. The NMC will regulate medical education and practice in the country. The bill also has provision for supersession of the Medical Council of India MCI for a period of 2 years with effect from the 26th of September 2018. During this period, the Board of Governors will exercise the powers and functions of the MCI as assigned under the IMC Act 1956. As per the provisions in the bill, the number of members in the Board of Governors has been increased from the existing 7 to 12. Replying to the discussion on the bill, Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Husbandry said the bill is the need of the hour. He said government's goal is to provide competent and ethical health care to the common man. Dr. Husbandry said within the next 2 years the country will see radical reforms in the healthcare sector.
The Prime Minister has a clear line of thinking with regard to the concept of universal healthcare. We are working hard to take it forward quickly. In order to support this, the government is taking steps to bring in the most appropriate reforms in the medical education system in a big way.
Parliament has passed the Homeopathy Central Council Amendment Bill 2019 with the Rajya Sabha approving it today. The Lok Sabha had already passed it. The bill seeks to extend the period for reconstitution of the Council from the existing period of 1 year to 2 years. This would allow the tenure of the Board of Governors of the Council to be extended for a further period of 1 year with effect from the 17th of May this year. The tenure has been extended since the Council could not be reconstituted within 1 year due to non-updation of state registers of homeopathy. The legislation will replace the ordinance promulgated in this regard. Replying to a debate on the bill, Minister of Ayush, Sri Nayak said, under the bill, the affairs of the Central Homeopathy Council have been entrusted to a Board of Governors comprising eminent and qualified homeopathy doctors and eminent administrators till such time the Council is reconstituted. The government has extended the facility of Kisan Credit Card (KCC) to fisheries and animal husbandry farmers to help them meet their working capital needs. Minister of State for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Pratap Chandra Sarangi said this in a written reply in the Lok Sabha today. He said the KCC facility will help fisheries and animal husbandry farmers to meet their short-term credit requirements of rearing of animals, poultry, birds and other aquatic organisms and capture of fish. Under Kisan Credit Card facility for the existing KCC holders, the credit limit is 3 lakh rupees to meet their working capital requirements. Under KCC, interest subvention is available for animal husbandry and fisheries farmers at the rate of 2% per annum at the time of disbursal of loan, and additional interest subvention of 3% per annum in case of prompt repayment. The Union Government is reviving 5 closed fertilizer plants at a cost of around 38,000 crore rupees to reduce import of urea. Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers D.V. Sadananda Gowda said this in a written reply in the Lok Sabha today. He said these fertilizer plants are Talcher in Odisha, Ramagundam in Andhra Pradesh, Fertilizer Corporation of India Limited in Gorakhpur and Sindri, and Hindustan Fertilizer Corporation Limited in Bihar. Mr. Gowda said the government had announced New Investment Policy 2012 in January 2013 to facilitate fresh investment in the urea sector to make India self-sufficient in the sector. The minister said in the last 3 years, average imported urea is over 63 lakh metric tons and average expenditure is over 12,797 crore rupees. He said the average total production of urea in the country in the last 3 years is around 241 lakh metric tons and the total consumption is over 305 lakh metric tons. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today said there was no impact of demonetization on the Indian economy and the country still continues to be the fastest growing economy. In reply to supplementaries in the Rajya Sabha, the minister said, the manufacturing sector has had a certain fall, but it is not attributable to demonetization. She said economic growth is high on the agenda of the government and various reforms are being undertaken to improve GDP growth. To give focused attention to issues of growth, the government has also constituted a 5-member cabinet committee on investment and growth chaired by the Prime Minister. She said the country's growth rate is still above 7%.
We are still the fastest growing economy. If United States growth has grown between 16, 17, 18 and 19 at 1.6, 2.2, 2.9 and 2.3%, and in 2019 they are at 2.3, and China's growth has also decelerated from 6.7, 6.8, 6.6, 6.3. India is still well above 7% at 7.3% growth.
In a stern message to senior BJP leader Kailash Vijayvargiya's MLA son Akash Vijayvargiya, who assaulted a government official in Indore, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that arrogance and misbehavior cannot be tolerated. During the BJP Parliamentary Party meeting in New Delhi today, sources quoted Mr. Modi as saying that whoever it may be, such arrogance and misbehavior cannot be tolerated and action should be taken against them. Talking to reporters outside Parliament, BJP spokesperson Rajiv Pratap Rudy also quoted the Prime Minister as saying that such conduct was totally unacceptable. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today interacted with about 160 young IAS officers of the 2017 batch and encouraged them to bring in new vision, new ideas and new approaches to solving problems. The Prime Minister described the upcoming 3-month attachment of the officers in the government as extremely important and part of a well-thought-out process. He said each and every one of them has a chance to influence policy formulation over this period. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. The situation in Mumbai is now limping back to normal after experiencing the second highest rainfall in the last 45 years. The city received intermittent sporadic showers today, paving the way for partial resumption of rail and road traffic, which was thrown out of gear for the last 2 days. Here is a report from our Mumbai correspondent.
Rail and road traffic has resumed, while air traffic remains affected due to closure of the main runway. West Railway has cancelled 17 trains, while Central Railway has cancelled 24 mail trains. Addressing a press conference in Mumbai, Additional Municipal Commissioner Ashwini Joshi said, Mumbai city has received an average of 133 mm rainfall in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, about 34 people have lost their lives in various rain-related incidents across the state. These include 21 people who were killed in the wall collapse incident in Malad last night. Although rains have subsided, Mumbai's meteorological department has forecast heavy rains at isolated places in city and its suburbs for tomorrow. Nisha Rani, AIR News, Mumbai.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has advised the Human Resources Development Minister Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank to issue an advisory to boards of higher secondary education or intermediate of all states to follow a uniform pattern of providing marks to facilitate admissions into central universities. Mr. Naidu said boards which issue the results and grades must also simultaneously provide marks so that the percentage obtained by the students could be calculated by the respective universities. The Vice President today called the HRD Minister to his chamber in the Rajya Sabha and discussed the problem being faced by students from Andhra Pradesh in seeking admission to Delhi University. The Board of Intermediate Education, Andhra Pradesh, introduced a grading system for intermediate first-year students in the academic year 2017-18 and continued the same pattern for second-year students from 2018-19. In Sri Lanka, former Defence Secretary and Police Chief were arrested today for their negligence to prevent the Easter Sunday attacks. Both were arrested by a team of CID officers while they were admitted in hospitals in Colombo on health grounds. Hemasari Fernando was removed from the post of Defence Secretary after the April 21st attacks and was receiving treatment at the General Hospital. Inspector General of Police Pujit Jayasundara, who was sent on compulsory leave, was arrested from Police Hospital where he was admitted this morning.
In a dramatic turn, both officials were arrested when they were admitted in hospitals. Both of them have been remanded tomorrow morning as security guards have been placed around their hospital beds. Defence Secretary was removed after Easter attacks, while Police Chief sent on compulsory leave, which he has challenged in Supreme Court. Country's Attorney General had earlier asked Acting Police Chief to act against both officials and yesterday sent a strong reminder for the same. CID had summoned them for interrogation this morning, but they got admitted in hospital, which led to arrest. Sri Lankan government has accepted that there were intelligence inputs about the attacks which they failed to act upon. Santosh Kumar for AIR News from Colombo.
The UK High Court today allowed embattled liquor tycoon Vijay Mallya to appeal at least on one of the 5 grounds against his extradition order signed off by the UK Home Secretary to face alleged fraud and money laundering charges in India. A 2-member bench of the Royal Courts of Justice, comprising Justices George Leggart and Andrew Popplewell, made the conclusion after hearing the arguments. The government will bring a bill in the Lok Sabha to mitigate the stigma, discrimination and abuse against marginalized transgender population to bring them into the mainstream of society. Minister of State for Social Justice and Empowerment Ratan Lal Kataria said this in a written reply in the Lok Sabha today. The minister said if transgenders are employed in a factory or establishment which comes under the purview of Employee State Insurance ESI Act, they will automatically get benefits under the Act. The government is implementing the Border Area Development Program in border areas of 17 states. In a written reply in the Lok Sabha, Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai said Border Area Development Program is a major intervention for filling critical gaps in provision of essential social and economic infrastructure in the border areas to ensure equitable development in these areas. In the ICC Cricket World Cup, India have set a 315-run victory target for Bangladesh in the league match now underway at Edgbaston, Birmingham. Chasing the target, Bangladesh were 137 for 3 in 26.3 overs when reports last came in. Early electing to bat first, India scored 314 for 9 in the stipulated 50 overs. In tennis, world number 1 Ashley Barty and defending champion Angelique Kerber moved into the second round of women's singles in Wimbledon, London today. And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government to raise health services expenditure to 2.5% of GDP by 2025. Government extends Kisan Credit Card facility to fisheries and animal husbandry sector. Situation in Mumbai limping back to normal after experiencing second highest rainfall in last 45 years. In Sri Lanka, former Defence Secretary and Police Chief arrested today for their negligence to prevent Easter Sunday attacks. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, India set a victory target of 315 runs for Bangladesh in Birmingham. And that was all in the news at 9. Good night.